I'm Michael Reinewesser, also blogging at the Mad Clientist, and you can read about all the things we do there. So in order to get started today, what I'd like to do is ask a question. And that question is, can you tell me who this individual is? I'll give you a couple hints. The kind of aged yellow computer that is sitting in front of this gentleman was actually a relic from the old Xerox PARC, the Palo Alto Research Center, where they developed the first computer that used what are now known as Windows and other, cut and paste and all kinds of really interesting things that formed the foundation of the computer world as we know it today. Now, if you don't know his name is Peter Tesler, and he is credited with coming up with what they call Tesler's law of complexity, mainly in use in the software and the computer business, but is quite relevant to where we are in law today. That is, there's inherent complexity in what we do. It has to be confronted, it has to be dealt with. And there's really two choices. Every attorney can make the choice to make the interaction, make the understanding, make the recommendation as simple as they can for their client, or in the thinking in software terms, the user, or they can present something complex. It takes work to make it simple. It takes work to make it easy for clients to understand, but that concept is what kind of changed the computer world and may change our world as we know it. Peter Tesler, what really makes him famous is and this is a younger version of Mr. Tesler, he met a young Steve Jobs very early in Apple's history. And what he did is, by demonstrating this machine at Xerox PARC to Steve Jobs, he introduced Steve Jobs to using a mouse. Probably not a lot more that needs to be said after that, but it became pivotal in wildly reducing the complexity as we know it today. It turned Apple on its path to becoming the behemoth that it is today. He did go to work very quickly for Steve Jobs as the chief architect, hardware architect at Apple, and is responsible for working with Steve Jobs and the team to bring us all the innovations that we saw. So this is really, I think, sets the stage for how we can think about what's going on in the legal market and making things simpler and supplying the tools, or just pointing clients to the path of a tool to make things a little bit easier or a lot easier. Now, why is this so important? Well, as we were talking to clients, what we started doing a couple of years ago is clients were telling us things were tremendously more complex than they had been previously, especially before the pandemic, but they even got more complex with middle of the pandemic, hybrid work, and then you add in AI, and all of a sudden the world is tremendously complex. It's our view, and what clients are saying is that, this is the big underappreciated market driver right now. There's little kind of apprehension, little understanding, and little respect in the mind of clients, is what they're telling us, for the complexity they face. We started actually measuring this complexity, and if you look at it, in 2023, they told us that the increase in the level of complexity that they face was 12% over 2022. So in a one-year period, they had an increase of 12%. We asked the same question as we just were out in the field in 2024, and they said the complexity over 2023 is 19%, 19.7, I'll call that 20%. So in a period of 2 years, you had, roughly 1/3 increase in the level of complexity. 82% of clients are telling us that they face this level of complexity, which is the overwhelming majority. It's probably not going to get higher than that. And this is where the opportunity is. Every firm, every partner, every associate, anyone in a firm that can help clients reduce this complexity is going to find a welcome audience They're going to find higher rates. They're going to find all the things that are going to attach them to clients in an enduring manner as they move forward. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more. Now, let's put this into context. When you look at client needs and the complexity of client needs, they follow a very clear life cycle. If you start up here, you'll find that this is where the most complex needs live. Some are cyclical, some stay up there, but this is where clients don't really know exactly what kind of legal service to ask for. They will share a problem, they will share obstacles, they will share the risks that they're facing, but they don't necessarily have a solution. They haven't gotten there yet. Your job, of course, the opportunity is to help them. Now, as the needs become less complex, providers play a lesser role in defining two things: who defines the value proposition and how much that value is, otherwise known as rates. So if you think about this, what you've got is a lot of needs that are kind of in this highly undefined area right up here. And for those of you that are trying to put this into context, I hope many in the audience can remember such things as internet law when it was brand new. That was definitely in the upper left until it's not. And what happens is that clients understand it and can find solutions. The value that you, the provider, can kind of articulate and bring goes down. Now, the impact on this becomes pretty clear in the way clients hire, because up here it's sole source, it's limited competition. You don't see a lot of RFPs, you don't see a lot of big kind of dog and pony shows. And as the needs become understood, they turn into requests for information, but quickly go to RFPs. And this is where it's harder to get the value that you either bring, want, or feel you deserve. But this is, things like M&A live up here. Things like right now, the idea of how do I manage my litigation AI risk, both from using it and from other people using it. The unwitting results and liability that may occur. All these questions are out here living up here. And the more that we can help clients, and this is where the simplicity comes in, break down these problems and solve them, this is where the big marketing business development opportunity is. Yeah, RFPs will be there, but they're in decline. Yes, you'll get some business, but you won't get the high quality, high rate business that all the attorneys are salivating for unless we find a way to operate up here. So we're going to talk about how to do that. Now, what's interesting is we started, hearing all about rates. And for those of you not familiar, about 18 months ago, we started doing some surveys of just law firm leaders, whether it's a managing partner, a chair, CEO. We focused on what they're thinking. And one of the things that they shared with us over the last 18 months is that they are really surprised by the level of rate resilience that they have. And it's a wonderful thing, but how can this be? And this is really in our minds how it can be. If you've got 20% increases in complexity, 12% last year, over the last 3 years, the average rate increase is actually about 7.6% based on the kind of composite rate amongst the elite and outside the elite. So if it's going up, we'll call that 8%, and we're way below the level of complexity. This sets up a scenario where even though clients are paying super premium rates, what we find is that if they're getting the value back, if they're getting what they need, if they're getting the answers, if they're getting the simplicity, then they're going to pay it because it's worth it. It's a good investment. And even though you might go buy a stock in the stock market that's highly valued, if it goes up and you make money, nobody complains about what they pay. So as long as the firms charging these rates are delivering on this simplicity, are delivering the answers that clients need in a way that they need them, they'll continue getting the rates. Now, we're already seeing kind of a polarity develop, meaning that there's a group of firms that are able to raise their rates. There's a group of firms that are either getting a lot of pushback or they're just not getting the work, one of the two. And more often, they're not getting the work. So it's a little bit dangerous because you may not even know that we're not necessarily delivering the value that we should. We just know we didn't get more work. But as long as this value kind of equation stays in place, this will speak well for future rate increases because there is no indication that complexity will go down. Virtually 80% of all corporate counsel are telling us complexity is only going to get worse. Now, worse, we're only going to, we're going to measure that and we're going to see what it looks like. But again, complexity is very much the law firm's friend at this juncture. Now, if you're looking at this idea of providing legal simplicity, there's going to be 4 pillars that we found to successfully delivering on this simplicity. 1, deliver some absolute solutions, sitting down with clients and say, look, here's how we get from here to there, or substantially from here to there. And what that does is it gives clients a path. It saves them time, it saves them money. More importantly, more often than not, it's helping them deliver on a strategic goal. So it may be a strategic acquisition. It may be acquiring a technology. It may be the ability to overcome some regulatory hurdles which are preventing them from developing their products or introducing their products. It may be new types of contracts where they're trying to, deliver power to nuclear power to Microsoft, which are not contracts that have necessarily been developed before. So what you've got is these kind of solutions that fit neatly into client packages. And I'm sure if you all sat down, you could think of a few yourselves. Now, the second is if we can't provide solutions, which, clients will tell you they understand can't always happen. Well, then we've got ideas. And that's we're coming in with a strategy development, either a process or a framework or key elements of a strategy. Can't do this without understanding the nature of the client's business, what they're trying to do, and the nuances that kind of go with the industry and, kind of the regulatory, political, and shifting winds that we're facing. Very few clients are putting their plans on absolute hold. All they're trying to do is develop contingencies. So bringing in the ideas and the development gets you almost as far as the solutions, will really bond your client relationships, will position you to get the business and deliver on the simplicity, which is becoming kind of so central to the way corporate counsel are operating. The third pillar is to provide guides, checklists, red flags, secondments. The guides, the checklists tend to be technology oriented. Secondments are the opposite of that. They are quite analog. They require associates living and talking and breathing with clients. This, again, not only saves clients time, but they boost their productivity, they reduce their risk. And generally speaking, I can't recall in the last 10 years talking to a client who doesn't like a checklist, who doesn't like a very definitive guide from their law firms that helps them. What we hear often from law firms is, well, I don't want to give this away because they could take this and use it with another law firm. Well, the reality of life is that maybe, 8% of all clients are going to do that. At least 92% of the others, that if you develop the guide, if you develop the checklist, if you come up with a list of red flags for clients to worry about, if you're providing secondments, you know what, you're going to get the business. And yeah, with secondments, we know you risk losing associates, but, many times, that's a risk that clients have to evaluate or may have more and more. We're seeing pre-existing agreements to prevent that wherever possible. And then finally, risk management in all its forms. We're seeing, law firms providing assessment tools to assess risk, to assess situations, to assess strategies. We want to see the clients are looking for more preemptive kinds of risk tools, like not how do I manage what I have now, how am I going to manage what I don't know about? Again, this is where AI really stands out. This is where clients are, trying to predict what's going to happen in the regulatory world, whether it be tariffs, whether it be sanctions, whether it be, changes in trade, whether it be technology usage. What do I need to worry about? Urgency is one of the big factors clients tell us, they'd really like to see a lot more of from their law firms. What they're looking for is, their corporate counsel will tell you that they have had more dialogue with the C-level of executives, even if they're a C-level executive, which many are, with the CEO than they have in the past 30 years. They've had more in the past 2. Almost every issue that they're facing at a high level is something that impacts the business, that's something that impacts revenue. It may impact the workforce, but clients are deeply, deeply, deeply concerned at the CEO level and at the executive level. And they are looking for these tools not only to help them manage what they're doing, but it compresses timelines and enables them to communicate a lot faster. Because as one corporate counsel told me, you just can't tell your CEO, I'll get back to you next week. They want to, for them, getting back to them in an hour is a really long time. And they want to be able to take action. So this is something that, is really tremendously useful to the community. And again, speaks to the simplicity. Now, taking another look at this is where AI really comes into play, and there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in here. Now, we were really diving deep to try to understand what clients are doing with AI. What are they talking about doing? What do they want to do? And what are they actually doing? And like any good analysis, it falls into a couple of categories. But the most, I think, important category is going to be there's a group of companies that have what I call mega litigation. They are mega litigators. They spend well over $100 million a year, and sometimes much more than that, on litigation. And they are developing models about what litigation strategies, what kind of outcomes, what kind of risk factors financially they might be facing. They're putting together all kinds of variables, ranging from the legal issues to the attorneys, to how many attorneys opposing counsel had in court, the name of the judge, of course, the days of the week that recesses were called, the weather, whether a judge is a stickler about time. They're bringing every variable they can think into it. And they're trying to understand how they can use all these to project what is going to happen and what their strategy ought to be. Now, it's important to know that they will be the first ones to tell you that what they're doing is experimental. They are experimenting, they're trying to understand, they're trying to harness the power, or what they see as the power of using AI to model. They're all smart enough to have their models cordoned off. It's not entering the public domain. But on the other hand, these are companies that have the resources to set up the kind of safer environments. No environment is totally safe, but it's a safer environment. They're judicious about what they put in it in terms of identifying information. And if you can get your hands on, being part of one of these initiatives, there's about 6 law firms involved that they're talking about by name with us. And, we think this is tremendously important because this is going to set a precedent. What it's going to do is whatever these mega litigators are doing, if they find success, or as one of them put it, when we find success, it's going to trickle down. It's going to become another big tool that litigators use. Corporate legal departments will use them, law firms will use them, and it will become a part of the daily process, is the prediction. That's what they're thinking is going to happen, and they're very excited about it. Now, whether law firms agree that this could happen, that's a different discussion, because these corporate counsel are resolute. The attorneys from law firms that are involved in the process are pretty confident that this is going to yield something. It may not bring a complete modeling tool, but it certainly is bringing new thinking. Now, speaking of bringing new thinking, one of the things we learned is, we hear a lot from law firms. We hear a lot in the press about how AI models will hallucinate. They will create, non-fact-based responses and answers. And what these companies are finding, because they all talk to each other and they share, what they're finding is if they take an open mind, these hallucinations can be another learning tool. Some of them say, I just never thought something could be interpreted in that crazy a way. Now, just to be clear, none of them are using fake cases, none of them using or false facts, but in terms of other hallucinations as to ideas or outcomes or how something could be described, or relationships that may seem ridiculous that AI comes up with, some of these mega litigators are going, if we push at that, we may find something that we didn't think about before. So this idea of hallucinations being so, yes, they can cause horrible things, but on the other hand, they can be used to help be able to invent new thinking and better outcomes. And at the end of the day, that's what clients all about. Now, if you look at the guides, checklists, red flags, secondments, AI is being used to help prepare these. In some cases, it's law firms. In some cases, it's bigger legal departments. But the community, both amongst the select group of law firms and clients, are telling us that the AI is good. Now, it's important for first drafts. It's not good for final product right out of the box, but it's a good place to start, because you have to get rid of the hallucinations, the false facts, and all those other things. But as the models become more sophisticated and companies and firms develop their own models, they also start losing some of the hallucinations. They get a little bit more reliable. So we're seeing AI there. We're certainly seeing AI in risk assessment and preemptive actions. Again, they're being used as tools. So, this is, again, not necessarily coming up with a final product, but what clients and law firms are telling us is that it saves a lot of time on the front end. You're able to put more thought. And if you're putting more thought into it, that ultimately is going to beat whatever an AI chatbot can do or a model can do, because they don't have the human experience. They don't have the nuance of the client. They don't have the nuance of all the emotions that clients are going to experience. So, the team is very powerful, is what clients will tell you, and the law firms that are doing this. Now, you'll notice there is one area without a blue AI logo, and that is right here. This is where the attorneys come in, and this is where ideas come in. For raw business, idea generation, clients still look to dialogue with law firms. They're trying to understand what it is that they can do, what aren't they thinking of. And this is really where the opportunity is for so many attorneys to engage with their clients, to be able to tell them that here's an idea, or do some brainstorming, or be able to just find different ways to do things, understanding that what clients say is, my outside counsel sees so many clients, yet I want to hear their ideas. What do they learn? I want to benefit from all of that. Now, at the same time, let's take another look. 52% of clients are telling us that, we are using generative AI. We think this number is understated at the moment, but that's what they're saying. Only 33% of law firm partners are telling us that this is what they're working with. They're using generative AI. Now, again, law firm partners may be telling clients it's a bad idea, that it's not something that's going to get them, where they want to go. They're going to waste time. They're going to get in unwanted or unexpected trouble. But the reality is this gap is causing a rift in the client relationship if one of your clients is a believer, and more clients are becoming believers. So, we're tracking this as closely as we can. We think the number for clients has already gone up. We'll be tracking this, and we'll be having more research on that as we move ahead. Now, just visiting these 4 pillars for the last time today, the red AI little icon will tell you that clients fully understand the risks that they're facing, or restate that they fully understand that they are facing risk. They are looking at this and they are saying, we understand that it could be totally wrong. We understand that it can take us down the wrong path. We understand that some of this data may leak out, but they're seeing the risk reward as being a benefit. And, what they're saying is that with the exceptional demand, with the potential benefits, they're willing to take these risks. They're looking to their law firms to help them define these risks because they believe that law firms probably have a better perspective. But this is kind of where AI is sitting today. So we'll look at that, and we're looking at the impact on what it means for client relationships and client service and business development. Now, as you look at what clients are looking for in their relationships and client service, what you've got is, for those of you that recognize this, these are BTI's client service drivers. There are 17 activities driving superior client relationships and client service. The items in red: understanding clients' business, early business assessment and action, and providing practical solutions are new. So there's a total of 7 drivers that will be able to really create the best relationships. 3 of them have changed dramatically. So that's just about half. And, it compels every law firm to be looking at clients and saying, is this what we're putting out front? We're talking to law firms about client service, and they're saying, well, geez, we're responsive, but I'll tell you that, responsiveness is so far down on the list of what drives a relationship these days. Again, going back to this idea of complexity, going back to this idea of clients want solutions. Responsiveness doesn't, if they're worried about responsiveness, they're never going to discuss an idea with you. So, we're way above that. We would urge every law firm and all our friends and all our clients to be focusing on these, because this is kind of where the big decisions are being made, and of course where the big opportunities are. So if you look at what this means, last year we saw a big drop in the number of law clients that recommend their primary law firm, down from 44 down to 24%. You'll remember that this is when we had the 13% increase in complexity. It's still, really low. The lowest it's been, say, for last year in about, 15 years. So, the problem is this disconnect we just talked about, which is clients are moving in one direction. They're trying to solve problems. Law firms, there's a small group of law firms that are jumping on board with both feet and the enthusiasm and the knowledge and commitment that clients want. And, that's the opportunity as we move forward. Looking really at, what is the newest driver? This is, if you go back, and I'll go back just for a second, if you look at here, the second most important driver, and I'll just highlight this here, is this idea of an early assessment and action. Can you come in, tell them, it's bigger than a bread box, and know how to be able to deal with this issue? This is now an act of client service, which is also a merging of client service and business development. Understanding the client's business has gone up. These are the 2 most prized differentiators in the market today. They are also the hardest to earn. They are also the hardest to lose. So if you can focus on that, these are the places, if you can deliver on those, clients are going to believe you can deliver on almost every other driver that is in here. So looking kind of at how clients are thinking about this, what we found is that basically only 3 in 10 clients see their law firm as a source of really good assessment and action. This is not an area where law firms really want to jump in. What we hear a lot from litigators especially is, well, we don't have all the facts, we don't know all the circumstances, and all that might be true, but what we hear from clients is that, well, if you come in here and tell me you've litigated hundreds of these and you have 25 years of experience, you must have some sense of what this means and what to do, even if we're dealing with new and novel matters. So, this is another area where clients are really paying premiums. If you can come in and help them right off the bat, this is kind of one of the areas that will justify those high rates that we're talking about. And then, as you're thinking about why it is you would want to invest in this, well, we look at spending projections as they are for 2025. As in the last 2 years, the number of clients that are increasing versus the number that are being cut, the ratio is roughly 4 to 1. 30% are holding their spending, tight, meaning that 86% of clients will either hold or increase their spending levels. So there's a lot of money to, chase after there. What's different this year about the last 2 years in particular is that those that are increasing are making big increases. We saw more 10% increases in spending than we've seen this year, than we've seen in the last probably 10 years. So those that are investing are making big investment. This would really compel law firms to, conduct some kind of survey or ask their relationship partners, are their clients increasing, and in that group of the 10% increasers, because that's where there's enormous opportunity. And if you're in your client base, that's something you really want to grab, those new incremental dollars that are coming into the marketplace. What are the tools that clients or law firms are using to get this business? Well, there's a couple of things. Right now, it looks like the most effective tool for business development is the client relationship business development executive. Those firms with the mature programs are growing faster than most other firms. They're getting the premium rates. They're keeping other law firms out. And the big advantage they have is they have earliest access to their problems, to client problems. So if you remember, early assessment and early action is super prized right now. So they have the advantage. If they've got somebody dedicated to understanding clients, they're going to be ahead of every other firm that doesn't have anyone like that. The second thing is what we're calling a bear hug. The bear hug is where there may not be a client relationship or business development executive who's a professional, typically not a relationship partner, but the bear hug is still led by the relationship partner. There's not a dedicated support individual on a full-time or dedicated basis, but they have such a deep understanding of the client. They typically have teams. These teams all understand the clients, have relationships up and down the corporate legal department, and they just bring these deep, deep, deep understandings and dialogue to not be as quite as early access as the business development client relationship executives, but it's pretty close. So that's really, really working. The next is the navigators. There's a group of partners out there that just love to sit in front of clients and dissect a problem. They'll say, dissect it. They'll say, let's do this, let's do that. Here are your options. We recommend option A. They will sit down. Clients may not even agree with it, but it gets them their thinking going. It's kind of like a good version of the hallucinations from AI. It gives them ideas. It gives them a track to follow. And again, these are highly prized. Law firms that supply the tools. If you look, Kirkland developed a tool for all his private equity clients to track all the side deals that the plan sponsors make with their limiteds. Wow, clients love it. LOVE, love it. any tool you can provide to make a client's life easier will bring you up to that early problem-solving status. The new things that are on the rise, digital networking. Boy, if I had $1 to invest in marketing, I would put at least, some good amount in digital networking. I tell you, I'd probably put $6 in my client relationship, and I put $2 in digital networking and $2 in everything else. Because we're now starting to see attorneys in the corporate legal department hire, meet, curate, assess, reach out to, get to know on a very selective basis attorneys at law firms through their thought leadership on LinkedIn. They're actually hiring through relationships formed directly on LinkedIn. So it's real, the dollars are flowing, the clients are flowing, and we think this is going to rival, analog networking, if not take it over in the very foreseeable future. And then if you can't deliver on any of these, you're going to go with brand, because brand is going to define the firm. And clients, interestingly, are starting to look to brand a little bit more than they had, because what they say is with all the different lateral movement and changes that, sometimes it's hard to know if the person I think is really good is going to be really good wherever they landed, and they're going to go with brand. So that'll be something to watch to see if that trend continues. So again, why we want to have our business development game up. We continue to see growth in the marketplace. This is where, our BTI practice roadmap comes in really handy. As hopefully you'll remember from the prior 15 years, each circle represents a segment of the legal market. The size of that circle represents the amount of spending in that particular practice area. This is the 0 line, so anything above this is growing. The more it is above that line, the faster it's growing. Premium rates are over here, rate pressures over here. As anyone will remember from about 8 years ago, there were a bunch of circles over here, a lot of rate pressure. If you can solve problems, you're going to be over here. This is where the bulk of the work is. And for the 3rd year in a row, there is no practice area that's really, really suffering hard. So the more business development we get, the more business we develop, the more we're going to be able to leverage it into the future. Now, let's walk through a couple of practice areas. Commercial litigation is the largest one, the largest segment, and complexity is just dominant in clients' mindshare here. Yeah, they have run-of-the-mill stuff, but they're only thinking about the litigation. They're seeing, an arena where there's new litigation based on, algorithm bias. There's surveillance and wiretapping litigation coming from use of AI and digital information gathering, social media and mental health, ultra-processed foods. It's coming from every side, according to clients. And not only that, but clients will tell you that the inclination to settle has, way, way, way down. This alone makes matters more complex if you can't look to settlement as a possible solution. So this is where clients are thinking. If you want to develop business in the big ticket business in litigation right now, be able to assess the risk, add definition to the risk, whether you can look at it and say, how much money it is, how much time it is. Adjacent liability is a new kind of concept here, especially in anything related to digital transformation, information use, data privacy. What is going to, what is something I did that is one step away from litigation and liability that whoever gave me that liability or passed it on may have passed on a vicarious liability. And suggest strategies, do some strategic planning, do some strategy development, ask clients what they're thinking, engage them. This is all the things that are getting the business right now. We've had at least 3 clients tell us in the last 2 weeks, when law firms come in and talk about all the things they've done in the past, it tells us that they're not thinking about the future. Now, I know you can't go change all your RFPs and pitches and proposals, but maybe adding a one-liner in the front of your pitches talking about the future and talking about solutions would help change that kind of perceptions that clients have about all this. And just a note for the small and mid-sized firms that are on here, your clients in the mid-size arena are facing the same complex issues. They may not be as big and complex as what the mega companies are facing, but to them, it's just as complex. They don't understand the risks of using AI, their digital transformation, what they're engaged in, the M&A activity that they're now feeling forced to engage in. It's all filtering down to small and mid-sized companies as well as the largest companies. Now, if we look at employment, you've still got this activist workforce out there, which is really joining, the driver here. What do you do with your workforce that goes public and is so emphatic in their actions and what they say when they take over your demonstrate in your own headquarters? Also, layoffs are getting backdoor layoffs where some return to office mandates are being called. All these things, discrimination claims, anti-discrimination. Here what's going to happen is if you want to get the business, first the labor-only firms are coming in with tools to predict regulatory issues. One or two of them are coming up with how to resolve multi-jurisdictional conflicts. What you've got if you're a general practice firm is it's the industry insight. What tools can you bring? What tools can you inform clients are using in their industry to get ahead? That's the battleground, and being able to have the sensitivity of managing a workforce and all those things that kind of may creep over into brand if not managed properly. But this continues to grow primarily as workforce activism remains at peak levels combined with the layoffs. M&A, pent-up demand is enormous. I've been reading lately in the press that maybe pent-up demand isn't what it's supposed to be, but everything we're hearing from clients says that it's, they're just waiting to unload. They want to do big, they want to do small, they want to do tuck-ins. They see M&A as a strategic path to get to their digital transformation, their market transformations, their AI transformations. And this is where we're also seeing law firms really adopting AI. They're using it for first drafts, for risk analysis of documents and agreements, and clients by and large are loving it. And it's really helping to define especially strategies for bigger deals, which may have more and more headwinds. What will get you the work here is the education on how to get clients over what they perceive to be the hurdles. If you can do that and show them deal structures that may be brand new, or they haven't thought of, those are the things that are going to get clients' attention right now. Class action continues to grow. More courts are unwilling to block class actions, and that's just causing more of them. More companies are subject to class actions than ever. It's the highest number that we've recorded in 32 years. They're more complex with everything from more diversified classes to new unseen claims related to mental health, related to food, related to disease, related to safety. It's just, clients will tell us there's no end to the creativity of the plaintiff's bar. So things are getting more complex there. Stock market volatility and new financial products. There's so many new financial products with these, what are perceived to be highly leveraged, highly risk-oriented products buried in kind of packaged financial products, and that is causing a real rise in class actions as well. So the stock market volatility is the class action plaintiff's friend. What we hear from clients is a lot of the firms don't necessarily come in and feel comfortable speaking about all this. So, learn to speak comfortably and knowledgeably about what to do if you can't settle. What are the strategies you would use for success, and how will that impact how you move forward? This is the kind of the tip, the solution, the simplification that clients are looking for. If we look at IP litigation, there's a couple keywords to describe this market. The IP litigation world is becoming intractable. The individuals, the companies bringing infringement charges are intractable. The companies defending are almost equally as intractable in at least 50% of the cases. You have more and more claims, which clients will tell you some are tenuous in their opinion, some not, about uses of AI and AI data. But these matters are only getting bigger, they're getting tougher, they're getting more hostile. And this is going to become probably a more central part of certainly technology-oriented industries and maybe a few others as everyone adopts a digital first or trying to move to digital first strategies. And then private equity. You know, this market is just going to keep growing and growing and growing. They have a really an interesting set of problems. They have more investable capital than they've ever had, more fresh powder, and they're under more pressure to liquidate their holdings, most of which are performing well right now from their LPs. So they're looking for strategies on how do they manage that, because they have to respond to their LPs and they have to invest that money. So they're looking for how to get an edge in their returns or their closing. And you know, one of the things they tell us is law firms will come in and share ideas on structures, but those ideas don't necessarily relate to how they actually do their deals. What's the edge for them? What benefit are they going to get, as opposed to just saying, hey, look, here's a new way of doing things. They want to see that, you know, carry through right to their deals and how it's going to get them better returns and, you know, deal with these issues. The other is what are the logical progressions from where they are now to being able to participate in the current investments while liquidating for their partners, and they're coming looking for deal structures to do that. So there's room for a lot of innovation in here to be able to get the business with private equity firms. And then finally, cybersecurity and data privacy. There's a few things that really define the needs of this market. Right now, AI and machine learning governance are paramount. They are at the top of what every data privacy attorney in any corporation is thinking about right now, as well as digital content governance. We're seeing some really interesting moves in terms of business development. A couple of law firms are teaming up with cybersecurity consultants, managed service providers, and that's going really, really well for them, because in what may seem counterintuitive, cybersecurity consultants and managed service providers are often getting the first call when there's a problem. So if they can bring a law firm in, the clients view that as value added. They're viewed as being already vetted in, you know, kind of passing muster with the trusted security consultants and managed service providers. So that's working really well. And if you want to do business with these folks and attract them as clients, it's all about the digital content, the thought leadership. And we're also seeing, you know, on-demand training becoming a real magnet, being able to offer tools as in on-demand training, which can be in as little as 6-second increments, 6-minute increments, to help get points across. These are the things right now that are really getting clients' attention and the business that follows. In terms of where to focus in the industries and where the opportunities are, you know, tech has needs in, you know, acute needs, which is where the blue is, in 13 different areas. So they're going to lead the way. Pharma second with 11 acute needs. Food has 9. Consumer products has 9. Healthcare has 9. These are all super large spending industries. Tech, pharma, and healthcare amongst the top 5 spenders in the world. So for those large industries, or to be able to have that many needs is an enormous opportunity for almost every law firm. M&A is going to be acute for 11 different industries, regulatory 10, class action 10, And I don't need to read this to you so you can see it yourselves. But the point is that, our clients use this. What they'll say is, here's the hot industries where the most acute need is. Here's our strong practices. Are we offering these services to our clients? Are we going in and brainstorming with our clients about what they're doing in these areas? And that's become a real powerful business development tool for our clients who are using this early on. So, a couple of recommendations for you as we move ahead. One, hug the bear. If you don't have a bear hug with your client, find a way to get one. This is, almost as good as having a business development executive or client relationship manager. I've watched law firms try to hire business development executives and client relationship managers, and they're getting turned down. And the response is, well, they're overhead. Well, I would suggest to you something I learned early in my career is if you have someone in a business development role that isn't developing business or helping to develop business, they shouldn't be there. Yes, they're overhead, and you can't afford overhead. I think the big, issue in not getting these people hired in law firms is that most of the people making the pitches don't want to or just don't provide the projection of revenue they could be getting if they included or if they added a business development executive. Add in that piece, and all of a sudden, it won't look like as much as overhead. But if you propose it without any revenue, it just looks like an added cost, and that makes it harder and harder to fight in the future. One of the things we're finding is that more and more firms are tapping the willing, that is, less experienced attorneys that want to do business development that typically maybe weren't given the opportunity before, but clients are telling us they often have the absolute freshest perspectives. We already talked about complexity, the benefits of brainstorming, but I can't overemphasize offering tools and tips to provide solutions. I go back to Kirkland providing tools to track side deals, providing tools to solve multi-jurisdictional conflicts, providing tools to assess risk, to even a tool to define thinking patterns. What should we be thinking about when and where? And by offering tools and tips, if you keep working at it, my hope is that you end up where Peter Tesler and Steve Jobs did by inventing the law firm equivalent of the mouse, and watch you grow to where Apple has gone, because that was an enduring story which is just not over yet. So with 1 minute left, I'd like to thank you all for joining us. We're very excited about the market as we look ahead. We think there's enormous opportunity. And if you have any thoughts, questions, ideas, please reach out. You can reach me here, my phone, my email, and I look forward to hearing from all of you. And again, thank you for joining us. Good luck in the market ahead.